Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to give you a full in-depth look at a group of animals that I've really sort of caught an interest in the last few years, that being the turtles and tortoises. Now hopefully I figure out how to do this video properly and it sort of works. If it sort of gets a bit boring or doesn't sort of follow any flow or pattern throughout it, I must have gotten bored in the editing process or something, so please bear with me for that sort of thing. As well as I'm currently recording this on a very warm day. It's currently around 30 degrees outside. It's cooling down now though, but in the sheds it's still quite toasty, so I'm a bit stinky and sweaty, so please bear with me as I sort of stick myself around on the floor, I guess like an octopus or something. I've also had to get a new phone, which I'm recording on now, so if the quality looks a bit weird or different, that might be why. This is a much newer model, so hopefully the camera quality is better, but we will have to wait and see. So this video is literally going to be on just the turtles and tortoises in my collection. There are some species in this video that you have not seen me keep before. Actually, one of the species I received only yesterday, so I don't actually know much about it myself, only what form of research that I managed to do and different literature that I have managed to find. Alright, let's get started. So the first animal we are going to kick this video off with is an animal that, if you have been watching the channel, you have seen in the past. Now this here is the alligator snapping turtle, and actually he's showing a bit of grumpiness, and it's because I'm talking. I just pulled him out. Normally I don't handle him, and I don't normally talk when I'm working around him as well, so he's probably just a bit confused, and he's showing me that gaping mouth there. He's a beautiful animal and he's growing rather quickly. I can't wait for him to get into a monster, but I don't know if you've seen my TikTok, but he's actually one of my most viewed videos on my TikTok as well, which is quite interesting. But I mean, it's obvious why. They are such cool animals, prehistoric looking, and have an amazing set of jaws. So this species I am currently keeping in a temporary sort of hatchling setup. It's the bog standard sort of Rubbermaid tub with sand as a substrate to allow him to burrow in. I also have pieces of old wood and rocks, as well as some driftwood, to allow him to either climb up or burrow underneath. There's little crevices and things underneath where he can ram himself in to simulate the sides of riverbanks and that sort of thing. This setup is actually sloped, so I have a almost shallow section and a deeper section to mimic that sort of edge of a river as well. Sort of helps him and avoids any form of any worries of him possibly drowning. But he's an amazing species that I'll no doubt have to upgrade fairly soon. End goal for this guy is to set up a outside sort of pond for him for the summer, and potentially keep him in an outside greenhouse over winter as well. These turtles, although people will view them as just sitting there and very sedimentary, they are very active animals. This guy's never in the same place twice, and they do come out and bask. I have caught this one coming out and basking, completely drying off under the UV multiple occasions, which might be why he is growing so fast. I do feed him a variety of different food items. Primarily it is different kinds of frozen fish that I thought out for him. Try to give him as many whole prey items as possible, because that's always healthy for them. The next animal is a species that you have definitely not seen on the channel. I did record an unboxing video for this animal, but I never ended up getting around to editing it and uploading it. This is the Mata turtle, a amazing species, and no doubt I'll probably overlay some of the unboxing clips over me talking here, and I'm keeping it in a very similar way to how I'm keeping the alligator snapping turtle at the moment. It is in the same sort of Rubbermaid tub, same size, basking area, all those sorts of things. The only difference is this guy really likes a lower pH, so I have some leaves in there for him to blend into and help with that pH there. But if you just have a go at this turtle, you know, he's a side neck species, which is why he's tucking his neck to the side like that. He's got this amazing looking plaster on with this dark black with red sort of patterning, and that actually goes up the neck as well. A cute little snorkel, and he will eventually get mahusive as well, so he's an awesome species. Another animal that's amazing me with their behaviors as well, and it's the same with the alligator snapper. Everyone says that alligator snapping turtles are this aggressive, mean thing, but they seem to just want to be left alone and they're shy, and everyone says the mata mata is a very shy, reclusive species that likes to hide all the time, where this guy is always out. And in fact, I have walked in on him on many occasions, either basking on the basking area or sticking his shell out above the water to get some of that UV. I'm assuming that's what he's doing there, but he's super awesome. Eats small frozen fish, which is fantastic, because I was worried that some of these don't eat anything but live fish, but this guy is taking frozen that has been defrosted, which is fantastic, and I can't wait for him to get bigger. The plan for this guy though is just to keep him in an indoor sort of setup. These are a really tropical species found in South America, so they need that warm climate. The next section is actually outside, and it's my largest enclosure that holds turtles. Now I've got to be a bit quieter because obviously people are outside and I don't want to disturb them too much. But behind me here is my adult turtle species that normally can be kept outside year round, which if you look back a couple of videos ago actually featured me taking these guys out and holding them for a couple of days when it was a bit of a temperature drop, as well as me checking them before winter as well. So in here I actually have two adult female Pseudemes conchina, which are the river cooters. I have two Trachemes scripta, which are two yellow belly sliders, and I also have a false map turtle, which is, if I remember correctly, Graptemes geographica, geographica, something like that. Always get that one wrong, but they're all females in here. They do fantastic. The enclosure itself is actually 20 feet long with two separate 7-foot ponds connected up via a small stream that actually runs down into another stream, which is separated off with rocks and things, and that actually connects up to the next animal on this list. The ponds themselves though are actually at different levels, different heights, elevations, so that connection of two liners sort of connects properly. And the top pond is only around about 2.5 feet. Oh, there's a spider there. The top pond is only around 2.5 feet deep, whereas the bottom pond is around 3 to 4 feet deep. So the bottom pond they can overwinter perfectly fine, but the top pond, preferably, I don't want them to overwinter in that. That pond is actually mainly for them to separate from each other if there's any aggression. The top pond also acts as a biological filter, as the pump pumps water up through to that pond, and there's a layer of gravel that the water percolates up through. The sediment gets trapped in there, and good bacteria, microorganisms, things like that break down the waste. And I've got plants in there that take up that nutrients and use it to grow. You cut those plants back and the cycle continues, almost like a bioactive sort of system, but it's a filter for a pond essentially. And for turtles it works perfectly fine, and it shows that the system works because turtles are very, very messy. So the next turtle on this list is actually in the enclosure connected to the two ponds previously mentioned. Now this is of course the Florida snapping turtle that I received not that long ago in a video that I did do unboxing this guy. He is awesome, and he is doing really well outside in this pond. I have caught him on many occasions actually basking on the side. He doesn't like me too much. He will be okay with me. He doesn't dart into the water like all the other turtles do. But if I get too close, he does huff and puff and eventually waddle back into the water. He has a very long neck and he could potentially give me a really nasty bite, but he is a little dinosaur and he's fantastic. He's not so happy I pulled him out to show you guys, but he is really, really cool. So he's a Florida snapping turtle. There's not that many of these guys in the UK because it's just rarity and everything, but basically the same care as a common snapping turtle, essentially the same thing, arguably a different subspecies or locality. They get slightly bigger, have slightly different tubercles on the neck, but really awesome. I mean, have a go at that turtle there. He's about to bite me. He is in a 7-foot enclosure by, I think it's about 5 foot or so, and he's got a nice decent sized pond. It's around 3 feet deep as well, but it's sloped on all the sides in here as well. I'm actually standing on this wooden platform of just a couple planks of wood that I threw down. Makes it easy for me to come in and access his enclosure, maintain the pump, and it gives him a place to hide under to simulate a fallen log or a riverbank with all the roots, and he does use it. It's really cool. But yeah, that's him. That is the Florida snapping turtle. Epic species. Next up is a group of turtles that you have seen the majority of them before. It's just I've actually moved them outside into a slightly larger sort of setup that is in a new sort of, I guess, building. It's a bit echoey in here, but this is actually the new turtle greenhouse. The idea for this is to be able to keep young small turtle species safely outside and be able to offer them UV light through open windows, which you can see above there. Also, I'll be able to overwinter some species outside in here all year round as well. Things like my musk turtles, that if I'm not too happy with keeping them outside in a open air enclosure, I'll be able to keep them inside here nice and safe, and it'll keep them slightly warmer because there's no wind movement, which will help to keep them warm as well. So in here, in this rather duckweed filled pond, as you can see, I have a selection of different species that do well outside. I actually have 2 false map turtles, young false map turtles, that you did see me unbox not too long ago. That eventually, when big enough, will be introduced to the other group with the map turtles living outside there. I also have 2 Reeves turtles in here as well. Hopefully going to be a pair because they are from different sources, different bloodlines. That will be an exciting thing. They're a Southeast Asian species, so will do really well in our climate. And I also have a musk turtle and razorback musk turtle. These 2 were actually a rehome that quickly turned into a rescue when I got there, and they handed me a box with 3 turtles inside, one of them already dead. So that was a situation that I had to deal with fairly quickly, and now they're growing, these 2 turtles are growing really well and are outside enjoying some really natural sunlight, eating really well and enjoying their time. So this is the rescue razorback musk turtle, and I don't know if I did record a video for these guys, but you can probably tell the size on this guy. It's getting really big and it's showing off a lot of attitude out here. I actually have 2 smaller ones that I got later on, so I'll be able to keep a trio of these guys, which I'll show you those 2 in a bit. Now the actual enclosure itself is a Laguna 4-foot stock tank. A lot of people use these in garden centres and aquatic centres to hold their lilies and aquatic plants, and some people even set these up for ponds for their goldfish. These are great. These are raised plastic, black ponds that will hold heat really well. They're quite structurally sound when it comes to water. They bow a little bit, but will stand perfectly fine and shouldn't break too easily. Next up in the tour is actually also in the greenhouse. This species shares the greenhouse with baby turtles, and these are actually my two marginated tortoises, Testudo marginata. They have also got another greenhouse section which they use to sleep in, filled with hay and things. Winter time, I plan to keep them in here to hibernate, and what I'm essentially going to do is close this off, fill it with hay and wood and debris and different things for them to bury down into and hide, and then they won't have access to the outside enclosure where the male is. So I'll show you him out there in a second. But down here we have Whistle, the female, who's getting rather large. Now the reason why she's called Whistle is because she whistles. It often sounds like she has a respiratory thing, but she's always had this whistle. There's nothing really wrong with her, but she is getting really heavy out here. She's doing fantastic, being outside, natural sunlight. She gets fed a variety of different weeds and greens, things like dandelion, nettles, loads of stinging nettles this time of year, different leaves as well, to supplement that diet. And she's doing amazing. So there she is. Can't wait for her to get even bigger. So here is their outside run for the Testudo marginata. It's nothing really that special. It's just I think it's 7 foot by 7 foot square, fully covered underneath with a wire, rubber coated wire, as well as the sides. It's got a rubber coated wire, as well as a plastic sort of fencing as well. And there's an overhang to the whole enclosure. I have tried to grow different plants in here, but the tortoises seem to bulldoze them, and the clay-based substrate doesn't really work. But I've got a mixture of topsoil in here as well for them to dig into if they do want to. There's a pile of logs for them to climb over to help their posture, as well as different rocks and things, and a couple different areas for them to wallow in. The corners hold a bit more water, so I can actually hose them down and make a little sort of watery wallow for them to sit in and get the mosquitoes off their shells if they want to, as well as a couple water dishes as well. Now this one doesn't have a name, but he is also doing really well outside. You can tell he's a male by his big chunky tail, as well as his slightly indented plastron. But I'm really paranoid about their shell growth. I don't want them to get pyramided, and you can see there's a little bit of bumps there, but really because they've been outside, it's been smoothing off, and they're doing really well out here. And you can see, especially with this male, why they're called marginated tortoises, with this beautiful marginal scoots around the back end here. Really awesome species. Can't wait for them to get even bigger. Plan is to extend their run even further, so they have loads of space, maybe different sections so I can actually grow grasses and things, and they won't just eat it all. But at night I just put them into their greenhouse section and shut the sliding polycarbonate door to keep them inside and safe from predators, and then in the mornings I open it up again. So the next animal on this tour is the adult musk turtles. Now my recent video was actually on these guys, and it was actually me introducing 3 more to distribute aggression, and that has worked amazingly. These guys get along perfectly fine with each other. The enclosure is so big it allows them all to get away and do their own thing, and they're all females, so I haven't had any breeding at all. I have one of the females here just to show you how well they're doing, and they're getting quite chunky and doing really well. You don't want them to get so fat that they've just got skin flaps hanging out. You want them to have that slight sort of space for them to tuck their legs in like that, and that's a sign of a healthy turtle and not an overweight turtle there. But they're not skinny, they're very strong and doing really well, really heavy. Now these guys surprisingly don't eat as much as you think. I do feed them every 3 to 4 days or so, but it's only a small amount of food. I actually think they've been eating the duckweed because they are getting really really heavy. Maybe it's because they're producing eggs, I don't know, but they're doing really well in here, really active. There are species that stays relatively small. I mean, this is as big as you're getting a female. They're from Florida and other similar places that can actually drop down fairly cold, so they do really well in our climate and can be kept outside if done correctly. Now, the setup itself is actually a 4-foot round cattle sort of trough, built specifically for cattle and horses and things to drink from. I actually sunk it down into the ground slightly, so there's actually about a foot submerged under the ground, so when winter comes, it should somewhat insulate it slightly. It's definitely kept it cooler in this heat wave, so hopefully it should keep that constant temperature throughout winter as well. I don't know, I'll have to give it a go. Worst case scenario is I just layer the top with some polycarbonate or some insulation. That will help as well to keep the heat in. Very basic. I actually have run an air pump out to this pond as well, so that it has a sponge filter that helps filter this pond, as well as a lot of duckweed. I have a couple different aquatic plants that are UK native that are growing out of their sort of land section, which is a gravel, sand and soil mix, perfect for when they need to lay eggs. However, this species on many occasions will just lay their eggs in the water. They're not really that great at looking after their eggs too well, so getting egg bound isn't really a big issue with this species. I also have a large amount of different rocks, branches, wooden planks that are all on slopes and things to allow this species to walk up and out of the water if needs be. There's loads of sections for these guys to be able to sit and just stick their head or nose out of the water. Perfect for this because they love that sort of section where they can just sit completely concealed but breathe happily and safely. I do, however, have a plastic coated hard metal that I can slide off completely if I want to. This just stops anything from jumping in. I have 3 cats and all the neighbours have cats. The last thing I want is a sopping wet cat jumping out of the pond as I come over. And it just keeps them safe from anything like larger predators, foxes, that sort of thing, because these are a small species that some animals will be able to get hold of. But as you can see, there are an awesome species that are very popular in the pet trade. I just need to find a healthy big male for these girls. Now we are in the original shed, the smaller shed, the front shed that holds the tegus enclosure. This also holds a selection of turtles as well, and this is actually where the 2 pink belly side neck turtles that I recently got are being housed. Now they're actually being cohabbed with 2 razorback musk turtles that are a bit too small to go in with the other ones at the minute, and they are getting along really well actually. Obviously keeping an eye on them, but you can see this is one of the pink belly side necks and it's doing amazing. It's getting so big, so active. Originally when I first got them, they're really shy, hiding all the time, but since moving them into a glass aquarium, they are actually coming up to the glass more regularly. They see me and come up for food. Really awesome species, doing really well. I have got 2 of these in here, and this 4 foot by, I think it's about 1 foot tank size, so it's not the biggest but it's not the smallest, and they do amazing. They're pounding down the food, they're getting really heavy, quite podgy. The end goal for these guys is actually to get them big enough to go with the fly river turtle, because they live in similar sort of areas of the world. Just need to make sure that they get along perfectly fine, but hopefully they will, and they should make really cool exhibit sort of animals. Awesome turtle, really cool. So the next animal is a brand new addition. They literally came yesterday, and these are actually Hingeback tortoises. Specifically, these are the speck eye, of the Specs Hingeback tortoise. I got 3 of these guys, and they are doing well. For the first day, they are doing really well, really active. They're getting some nice natural sunlight when I open the doors at the moment, and you can see with this one, it was actually kicking around outside, so doing really active. It's a species that I don't know much about, and trying to find good literature and resources on the care for the species is proving to be fairly difficult. Now, I have got the Turtle Encyclopedia, and that actually has a section on the Hingeback tortoises, so that has been very helpful. But everything I've found out so far has been somewhat contradictory. Some people saying feed them just fruit, some people saying feed them just vegetables, and then other things, but a lot of the literature suggests they're actually fairly insectivorous. Some species potentially might swim and go into rivers, but what I'll most likely do is feed them a diet of mainly vegetables and insects, avoiding a large portion of fruits because it's really sugary. They get a lot of sugar now from the vegetables that you buy from the shops. That's the goal. I'm going to keep them in this 6-foot enclosure. This is actually a 6-foot by 2-foot enclosure that used to be for turtles, so it's fully lined. What I did was I put in a drainage layer of gravel to try and help keep the plants in here alive, which is some pothos and some pond plants. This also helps the soil on one side, where the drainage layer is, to stay relatively moist and humid. The other side, the hot side, I guess you could say, is dry. It has a dry topsoil mix, where the other bit is a wet topsoil mix. So it allows them to choose where they want to go humidity wise. There's hides on both sides. There's a shallow water dish for them to sit in if they want to, and a lot of leaf litter for them to bury into and under, to help them hide and feel secure as well. Like I said, I have 3 of them. I don't know if they're all from the same clutch, but I'm going to assume they are. So when they do grow up, the main goal is to find, basically pair them off and find opposite sexes, so I can potentially breed them and have a nice group going. That would be very exciting. I'm running a mercury vapor bulb on them, but I've only turned it on now just so you can see the setup. Throughout the days now in the heat wave, all of the lighting is actually off for most of the enclosures, especially for this one because it is getting partial sun throughout the day. That has been moving as the sun moves. Really awesome, great thing to offer your animals. But this is a species I'm really looking forward to. I hope I have some pictures of them. I'll try and put some pictures up of these guys, because I did get a couple pictures of them when they came in. They are very variable in their coloration and markings, so I should be able to tell the difference between them when I do work with them a lot. But it's a species that I'm looking forward to. It's sort of the deep end for me because I don't know much about them, but I can't wait to offer them really awesome enclosures and care and diets and things. If you've kept this species before, let me know. Give me some tips, what you found about the species. But I'm slowly getting through it, reading up as much as I can and figuring out from there. So yeah, all right. And the final species on this sort of list of turtles and tortoises that I currently have in the collection is, of course, the fly river turtle, the pig-nosed turtle, the coolest species I probably own, as well as the biggest pain in the butt to keep. This is a epic species that will get considerably large, and it's a species that tends to hide a lot of the time, does not want a lot to do with me. It primarily eats vegetation, things like lettuces, leafy greens, those sorts of things, and occasionally the occasional banana, that sort of thing. Like a lot of the turtle ponds, if not all of them now, there is duckweed in here. I think he eats that as well. It's good protein and good cover, but it does mean I can't see him. He is currently in a 6-foot by, I believe it's 5-foot pond, which is about 1.5 feet off the ground, so not a lot of water, but enough for him to use and grow in. As he gets bigger, I will most likely have to upgrade it into something much larger, but for now he does really well in here. Hopefully I can get some footage of him, because he doesn't like to be handled. I don't like to handle him too much, I don't like to stress him out, but it's a species that has a very delicate shell and needs a very hot temperature and very good water quality. I also offer him a UV light, that's a mercury vapor bulb, which he does bask under. A lot of people think these guys don't bask, but where they don't leave the water as such, unless they're laying eggs or traveling from pond to pond, they will find shallow parts of the pond to heat up in, and they will stick their shell out, similar to what the mata turtle does. So a very cool species, the coolest species of turtle, and yeah, that was the fly river turtle. So there you have it. That is the collection of turtles and tortoises I currently have. Hopefully you found this enjoyable, and yeah. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you have turtles yourself and have cool setups or any setups, please let me know. Get in contact either through Instagram or one of those sites, and send me your pictures of your turtles and things. I always love to see them, and yeah, great. Okay, that's the video. Have a good day. Hopefully you don't cook as much as I am, and yeah, bye everyone.